Good evening and welcome to Tuesday. I just realised there was something I forgot to do. So let me just save this picture. Not you, I need... No. I hate the fact that nowadays things just kind of don't work like you expect. So you click a menu and it turns out to be not the menu you thought, but the menu for something else, because it looks all the same, which isn't a bad thing, but at the same time can get a little bit confusing. So, let me have a quick look. Here we go. So, we are back in business. We haven't yawned yet, so that's always a good thing. We are ready for triangle number 2 on this square. So that's triangle 22, more to the point. Only another 50 to go. So we have a few more to achieve. It is going to be a while. Now, since you were last here, it literally took me 3 seconds. I put a cloth down over the last work and flipped all my bobbins, as I usually do. A bit more carefully with these because they tend to escape. And I put an elastic band over the pins so that they can't come apart. A few of them may already have done, of course. Hopefully not. But we shall see. We shall see. So, I also have the solution to annoying bobbins in that... Where have they gone? I have a shed load of white orthodontic elastic bands. Although the elastic bands are not ideal because you can't really put the same amount of tension on them, you can put a fair bit on with a bit of thought. So we are going to... See, this is what I mean. I sized them up absolutely in that they are exactly the size I wanted. And should I want to make them shorter, all I need to do is roll the elastic band back down. Although for some reason that's being a bit annoying. There we go. There we go. Roll it down a little bit. Roll it back up. And then I can set it where I want. So anyone who annoys me is getting an elastic band today. That's going to be the plan. So, off we go. Open the pin box. That's always a good plan. Oh, it's not yet, and now I need to do this one, which is the one I'm pinning. There we go. I know I haven't done. I have accidentally turned that off, and there you go. Sorry there. Didn't realise you didn't have your music. Well, I sort of did, but sort of didn't. You know how it is. There you go. Something to listen to when I'm not talking. Which means the first minute was deathly silence. That's a joy to behold now, isn't it? After taking a vote, the music is staying as it is. It is fairly background music as far as I can tell. And when I listen to it occasionally, it seems fairly backgroundy to me, so it's not overpowering at all, so that's a good thing. It's not like you can't hear me for the music. Unlike the TV sometimes, where you can't hear what they're saying because the music's too loud. A few years ago, a friend of mine phoned up and said, "Have you seen this film?" It's like, "Yeah." And he said, "Did you struggle to hear it?" And I'm like, "Don't really remember." "Why?" He said, "I can't hear a word." And I replayed it, and he wasn't far wrong, you know. The music was, I'd say, as equally loud as the voice is. As a result, you often missed things because the music was doing an excited bit, and you just totally missed the whole whole chunk of conversation because it blended in too much with the music. And you're sitting there going, they paid people money for this. Audio is a fine art, and it's not one I possess for sure. But I will turn the music down slightly. Didn't want to do that. I wanted to click on that, and I want to. There we go. So it is just a little bit quieter, but not ridiculously quiet. So it won't be that I'm sure I can hear something, but I'm not sure kind of thing. But hopefully it is slightly less demanding for those who have found it irritating. But it is very difficult to find enough non-copyright music that you can play. The stupid thing is it is very feasible to play on stream something else, but you have to record non-copyright because both Twitch and YouTube will come for you if you use copyright music. So I could have hits from the 80s on stream, but I can't do it for the recordings. So similarly, I guess I could do something to mean that the music for stream doesn't go into the recordings. But considering I have often many long stints of saying nothing, I'm not sure how well that works. I'm really good at picking up 2 pins. So yes, especially when, because there aren't people here talking back to me, it is often very quiet here. So. Trying to make sure it doesn't suck, but it's proving harder than it sounds. Right, I think there we are. doesn't look like it adds up. It doesn't. Or maybe it does. Yeah. Maybe it does. Yeah, something's not right. And I hate the fact that I can't see it. It's because you two shouldn't be the crossed pair. It's not you that should be crossed. For some reason, it looks wrong. And again, I can't see it because it's just the wrong distance of everything. So. What are you two doing? It's hard enough trying to concentrate on this without you two being annoying in the background. I need a pokey stick. And to take my glasses off so I can see better. Before anyone says anything, yes, taking my glasses off allows me to see better in one situation. And that situation is when everything's too frigging small. Because for some reason, and this is a puzzle to me, I mean, I know that it works. But when you're short-sighted, the answer is to make everything smaller. So you can't see stuff that's far away, so they make it smaller. So when you are savagely short-sighted, well, it gets made distinctly smaller. And as a result of being distinctly smaller, it's fucking harder to see it. It may be clearer, but seeing it is really hard. Now, as you can normally pull on a pair of bobbins, which would be these two, and make this shorter, what I can do actually is exactly that, is to take you out and put you back in the hole like that, and work out, there we go. Right. After all, we're trying not to screw it up. That is the plan. So, back to the front. we now have a pair coming out of there, which is right, and the pair coming out of there. Hey, Net Kisser, how you doing? You've arrived just in time for the adverts, I'm afraid, my friend. Just as a warning. So, I assume you can hear me. That's all I can do. Until I hear otherwise, I guess. But I hope you're all right, Net Kisser. part of me wishes that chat had like a typing thing, like they do in Teams. Joy, joy, joy! I spent today doing community work for my employer. As mentioned the other day, my employer encourages community work in the form of they will withhold some of your bonus if you do not do enough. And so I spent today doing some community work so that I can have my bonus, or at least all of my bonus, or at least be entitled to all of my bonus. There are other criteria that may mean I don't get my bonus, which is how well the company's doing. But in principle, I've done my bit to get 100% of the offering, should it be available. So that is a good thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I it's been a funny day. What counts is interesting, to say the least. Today I have been looking for clouds. I did 3 things, I think. Or was it 2 things? Oh, 3 things. Looking for clouds, spotting galaxies, and clicking on penguins. Now, I don't know about you, but that kind of is a bit weird. But hey, if it counts, it counts, right? But if it means I get a quarter of my yearly bonus, I'll count penguins, spot galaxies, and click on clouds. I mean, seriously. I wouldn't mind, but none of the photos got any decent quality. So probably because they're taken, from far, far away. The clouds are on Mars, for example. But even so, it's... Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like the running SETI and as your screensaver and having it look for, aliens and stuff. I mean, only you're doing it manually. And to be honest, some of it I actually think AI would do a far better job. But whatevs. Personally, the cloud one, I think AI would do a really frigging good job at that. Because basically, clouds, in quotes, look like arches apparently in the photo, so you have to click on the arches. Well, I'm pretty sure AI would be real frigging good at that. The penguins, that can be harder because they can be 2 together. The galaxies, again, you're looking for, is the thing in the middle circular, not circular, cigar shaped? Does it have spirals? Are there other blobby bits? So I can get that AI would get a little bit more confused with that, potentially. But certainly the cloud one, I would have thought AI would do a frigging good job of that. In fact, isn't that surely exactly what it's good at? But if it gets me, 2.5% of my quarter, well, it's 5% of my bonus. So, it's, and you get to do it on company time. Well, it does feel like it, to be honest. But to be honest, either way, whatevs, as long as, if it all counts, it counts, right? it is the, you know, it is that kind of problem, is the, to be honest, you know, it's almost the, you know, it is an internet based thing, and it has to be one that the company has signed up for, which makes life complicated. So, for example, I can't just write down, hey, I went down the local dog shelter and walked dogs for 4 hours. That doesn't count. They've got to have onboarded them and agreed, and it's got to be this, and it's got to be that, and it's got to be all sorts of other things. So, from that point of view, this is very much an easy option in that I don't need to leave the house. And to be honest, it's not unpleasant to do it after all. You know, does that look like an arch or not? Or does that look like a spot or not? Or does that look like a penguin? I mean, you know, click, 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 click. One picture had like 177 friggin' penguins in it. I also had one that only had 2 seals, so, you know. Well, and that's the thing. One of the things that I have tried to make really clear is I am not against doing this. I am, you know, I'm really not. And, you know, I didn't know you could do this kind of thing online for fun. And potentially I really would. You know, something to do while you're bored, waiting, especially at the doctor's surgery or something, you know. Click a few penguins or something. So from that point of view, I could see me really doing, you know, I could see me being interested in it on a personal level. No, Rory, I don't. I nearly called you Charlie then. Why did I want to call you Charlie? Okay. No, don't maul me. You've been fed. I swear I've fed you twice today, so you're already on a roll. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're on a roll. Get off, woman. Being mauled. Well, this one's a bit more specific. So, in the galaxies, well, in the counting clouds, you have to click on every single archway, and you get 4 kind of, I'm going to call them exposures, because they call them frames, but it seems to be the same spot with slightly different exposure, so that you can decide better where it finishes and starts. I'm not sure why clouds show as arches, though. That's puzzling my head. But I chose to try and ignore the fact that clouds don't sound very arch-like to me. I mean, coronas are arches, fine, but you know, talking the surface of Mars, and there also seem to be buildings, which also struck me as a little bit weird, and people, actually. In one photo, I would have sworn blind, it was 2 people leaving a hut, and on a cloudy day. But, whatevs, you know, maybe that was the... I must admit, the galaxy one I found difficult, because 90% of the galaxies were blurry, obviously, and then and there were other things on the screen, and you were supposed to concentrate on the thing in the middle, so I tried. But it would be like, is this tight, small, big? Well, I don't know how far away it was, do I? You know, it's a little bit subjective, which I don't like. You know, I'd much rather they said things like, is it between 2 and 4 millimeters, 4 and 8 millimeters on the photo, and gave you like a ruler, so that, you know, if you've blown it up on your screen, you can still tell what the millimeters are, and stuff like that. And so I found it very difficult to feel confident in my choices, just because some of it was very, very dubious because, you know, it's given you a picture of basically what it thinks might be a galaxy. Well, it's a bright white light on a black background with other speckledy bits. Now, one of them looked like someone took a half phone, you know, picture pocket in an 80s disco, because it looked like someone else was taking a photo, you took a photo, and your flash backfired in your pocket. That's, you know, it's a big pile of blur. The penguins were a bit easier because mostly they look like slightly blurry penguins. But occasionally there's a few shadows and you're kind of going, are you a penguin or are you a shadow? Because, of course, being black and blurry and maybe even penguin-shaped, especially if the sun's out, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know whether that's a penguin or a shadow. So counting penguins was kind of fun. And the picture of the seal was really cool because it was Rolf. Yeah, of course it is. I really did like the seal photo though. I can't really show you it, but I have. Hang on. Because it's on my phone. Where is he? So you can just about make out Mr. Seal there. Look. It was quite a good picture of Mr. Seal, I thought. But to give you an idea, does that show anything? Let me slightly change this so that I don't show anything I shouldn't. Yeah. But this is a zoomed in bit of the Count the Penguins. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of penguins and potential shadowy looking penguins. And this was the 80s inner. I need to zoom it out a bit. There you go. This is the 80s inner pocket galaxy. I mean, seriously, what the fuck is that? I mean, that could be anything. That could be a picture of Aunt Mary, for all I know. It looks like a photo of someone's pocket. But as you say, that's but you know, like, but at the same time, it's kind of fun to do because you don't know what you're going to see, and you know, like I say, you know, I got to see a couple of seals. I like seals. At least I didn't see a killer whale eating penguins because that would have been a bit distressing. But because, you know, I know it happens, but it doesn't mean I want to see it, you know. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed doing it because it was something very different than my normal day. It is, quote, helping something, hopefully. You know, right, they don't just chuck it all in the bin. But, you know, but as I say, part of it is, the long and short is, I have now done 8 hours and I'm now entitled to this quarter's chunk of bonus that I would have missed if I hadn't. So, bit of happiness on both sides there then. As I say, that's the only thing I find a little bit mean, is it's not, we will give you a number of hours a year to do community work free of charge that are not like days off, but effectively are days off, where you don't do your job, you can do it in work time, and, you know, we'll give you credit for it kind of thing. So I do feel a little bit forced. I mean, as I say, I found some things that I had a bit of fun doing, so that's a good thing. You know, I'm not cleaning out, you know, Aunt Maud's kind of garden or decorating some, you know, the local primary school, because I probably wouldn't enjoy those. So to have something that was a bit of fun, yeah, I kind of like those. They have plenty of other things. They have plenty of other virtual ones you can do. So you can sign up and send a letter to a cancer victim. You can send a letter to your MP, stuff like that. Now, part of me, hello, Naughty Kilt. Part of me kind of thought, well, I'd probably be quite good to write to someone who's had cancer, seeing as I've kind of been there, done that. And then I thought, actually, that's exactly why I wouldn't be a good person to write to someone else. Because, you know, it's kind of like, well, I've had it twice, get over it. You know? It'll either get you or it won't. Being miserable and stuff about it ain't gonna change it. So just don't bother wasting your effort. Just let them do whatever it is they need to do. It'll either fix it or it won't. Not a lot you're gonna do about it, you know. So I'm probably not the best person to do that on. And the whole right to your MP thing, it depends what, you know, if they stipulate the subject you've got to write about. Because as I understand it, they basically give you a template and you fill in your name and it kind of sends it off. Well, I don't agree with that. Because maybe I don't agree or maybe I do agree, you know. Like, fix the bloody potholes in the road. I'd agree to that. Build more houses. Can we stop? Especially around here. Oh, dear goodness. I don't know what it is around here. I live in the country. Well, I do live in the country. It's not really debatable. I do live in the country. However, it is getting less and less country-like. And it's beginning to bother me because the seals. I was doing my community time for work to allow me to collect the whole of my allotted bonus rather than partial bonus. And because I have to do 1 day a quarter minimum, I chose today because, well, I didn't really sleep very well last night. I had nightmares, and oddly enough, and this is kind of freaky for me, I had nightmares about my shit pile over there. Not that it was going to wake up and come and get me or nothing, but I had some very vivid nightmares because some of the things were things like my old house, apparently the fence has blown down, and I got a text from miserable grumpy lady today saying, you know, when someone coming to do the ivy and the tree. Well, actually they came 2 weeks ago, stupid, but you know, after you went trouncing around my garden, and I haven't spoken to them since, but you know, that's what they were told to go and do, so you know, and they're fairly reliable. Well, in fact, they are pretty reliable, as long as when they turn up, they do stuff. So I'm pretty confident they did do what they were supposed to, but I also know they probably did other things too that weren't probably so important. But those were the instructions that they were given, was that she'd been moaning about the ivy in the tree. Can you go and look at it? So it's not like they didn't know. And so my back garden is now open to bad people. And I am feeling a little bit self-conscious about that. Because I don't know how much, because I haven't been past it, because, well, it means going out of the house. But I also had... for some reason, my brain was convinced that a pipe's burst in my old house and is flooding it. I have no grounds for that suspicion, but that's what my brain came up with at like 2 o'clock this morning. And it also had visions of me doing my shit pile, but also not doing my shit pile and getting someone to come and sit with me, because basically I do get really emotional. I almost have a severe reaction to tidying up. I can't really explain it. It really depresses me, and I do about 10 minutes and give up, because I end up so miserable. And I've been pretty miserable, for a while. So the idea of doing my shit pile is really kind of not the best thing in my head. And it was trying to work out while I was asleep who I should ask to come and sit, because frankly no one in their right mind should ever have to come and sit with me to make sure I do my shit pile. But you also need someone who's not going to particularly judge you for your shit pile, because, well, it's called a shit pile for a reason. Now, there's no food in it, but it does look a little bit like a small rubbish tip. Because, well, it is. And there are some decent things under there. At the bottom, there are other things, the keepables, but they're underneath. There's a chair under there somewhere. Not that you could tell. So I do need to do a few things, and there are a few things that I want to move around. But again, to move it around, I've then got to find homes for other things that I don't really have homes for, because like all modern houses, like we've got any bloody storage in our houses. And so it is just a little bit kind of... But for some reason, it really made me panic last night, so I spent about 2 hours not sleeping at all, because every time I half nodded off, I'd panic. So... really kind of not in my best today. Hence, I decided that if I'm ever going to do dumb stuff for community time, today was probably a good day for it. And to be honest, I did not enjoy it. As I was just saying to Netkisser, I object to being kind of made to do it. That part of my payment depends on it. So from that point of view, I'm not overly impressed with that thought. But at the same time, there are worse things in life to have to do. Oh, I got a thing. No, not that one. Or that one. Where's the other one gone? Well, the seals... Well, actually, it was penguins. Where's the thing gone? Hang on, looking for something I was going to show you. I'll try and talk and look, which is possibly beyond my brain cells' capacity for now. What have you done with the... How can you have lost the one thing that you... Oh, there it is. There it is, it's got flipped about. Before I explain the seals, I bought me... Don't know if you can really see it. If I bring it up a bit closer, you might not be able to. It is a pin lifter. So I now officially have a pin lifter. To save picking quite so hard with my fingernails, maybe. So, the seals. One of the things that I got to do today... Well, I got to do 3 things today in the name of community time for my employer. One was playing Hunt the Clouds on Mars, where you look for archways and you have to mark each archway and say, I have potentially seen a cloud. I just want to turn it around to check I've got them all. Because I need to make sure I got them all. And then I did the Spot the Galaxies. So in this one you get blurry ass photos of potential galaxies, and you play what shape is it, what features does it have, is it just like a white spot, does it have swirly bits, does it have a dust thing, is there like dust, is there like a haze to it that's distorted a bit, distorted a lot, is there a group of spots, you know. And they're all buttons to click on and stuff. And finally, I did penguin counting. Now, as you weren't here, Nautical, let me explain the penguins. So let me zoom in so it hides all of the bits you shouldn't really see. So here is a zoomed in section, and in it you can see lots of little penguins. So there's penguin, 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 right? And you have to click on all the penguins. Well, in one of my pictures, there were no penguins, but there was a little seal. Look, see? Happy little seal. There were two, in fact, but he was the biggest one in the picture. He looks huge in that. I mean, I know seals are not necessarily small things, you know. I mean, part of you thinks of seals, but big, you know, adult seals are substantially bigger than that. 4, 5, 6. No. As I said to Netkisser, the one thing that I was really pleased about when counting penguins was that I didn't, while I came across some seals, and that's cool, I like seals, we like otters as well, by the way, but at least I didn't have pictures of, like, you know, killer whales eating seals or penguins or whatever, because I'd have been a bit put out by those. Don't need that in my life. But if this, you know, this is what constitutes doing some community service that counts towards my getting full recognition for my bonus, then counting penguins it is. And me and a co-worker, don't think I've seen that one. I do have problems watching films about animals where they get maimed and... I can't remember which film it was, but there's been quite a few films where all I remember is what happened to the animal and I don't remember anything else about the film. And there was one, it was an 80s or 90s film. And there's a couple on a boat and they run across some dude who's stranded or whatever and they let him on board. And basically he's a bit of a psycho and he's after her. I'm pretty sure it was her, although that bit's a bit blurry. And because she's really scared, she hides down the bottom of the boat. Amy, enough of the noise! And he's been banging on the door, trying to get in, banging on the door, trying to get in. She hears a noise at the door and she's found a harpoon and she fires it through the door. Yeah, it was the dog. That's all I remember was it was the dog. And, you know, kind of, that's not fair. I don't want the doggy dead, but the doggy died. So, I have no idea what the film was. Don't know what it was called. Can't tell you who was in it. All I know is the dog died and I was unhappy. So, yeah. I had... As a child, well, young adult, I was not really a child at 19. I remember my parents were watching a documentary about, well, and in it, there was a rhino being transported. And he was in the bottom of a big sea container. Just sit on the damn cushion or piss off. That's right, she's doing her annoying thing. And... he'd broken his hip in transport. And because he couldn't stand on one leg, they kept using a cattle prong on him. And in the end, they were getting really shitty with him for not standing up. Bear in mind, rhinos are not small. And they hoisted him out by a ring through his nose. I had to walk upstairs. Because at that time, I was suffering from a broken hip. I couldn't walk on it either. And I wanted to inflict a lot of violence on those men for expecting anything, no matter how big or small, to walk on a broken hip. It, you know, just expecting it to stand. And they already knew it had a broken hip. They'd already said they've identified that he broke a hip during the transit. What then? If you know what's wrong with it, leave the poor thing alone. I mean, I know you've got to get it out of there, and it's really not helping. But come on. So yeah, I was. I'm not very good with. I'm not very good with animal deaths on TV. And rightly so, I feel. I mean, it's bad enough in documentaries where they have to let them just get on with it, and you know it's going to be about to be dinner, but they have to sit there and watch. And no, I think, to be fair, that's it's a bit like being scared of fire. It's kind of a healthy thing, actually, not to be good with it. It's it is a distinctly unpleasant experience, and not one that you should try and push your luck on. So yeah, I almost feel sick thinking about that poor animal, which of course will be long since dead by now. Oh, I love those. There was a series here in the UK called Your Life in Their Hands, and they showed groundbreaking surgeries. So they had one of the surgeries that I remember was a child stroke young adult with spina bifida, and they straightened their spine by using rods and shit. And they didn't do like they do often now. Like, I watched brain surgery live a few years ago, and realistically there was like, we all know that they make a little hole in the top of the head kind of thing, and you saw from the front end bloke on the table, because it was bloke, and you could hear a bit of drilling, and they're like, the two presenters talking shit at the front. This, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do this, and we're going to be watching it live. And I'm going, great, because it was like, 6 hours of brain surgery live, and I was like, yeah. You didn't actually see a damn thing worth a jot, right? They kept cutting back and going, the surgeons are doing this and they're doing that. But you couldn't actually see. There was like, it was almost the kind of postcard of, a load of people in blue gowns kind of thing over there in a corner, and you're all the way over here, and ouch. Yep. As someone who had a car accident and didn't get her foot off the accelerator, and so foot was shoved backwards, and so was knee, and well, my femur gave way, so I lost 4 inches of bone in my femur because it exploded in my leg, and broke my hip, stroke pelvis for the privilege. They then, of course, apple cored down my femur to join the two bits together and put a metal pole. Now, I don't have it in this house. I actually do have my metal pole that was in my leg, and the bolts that held it in. But I will say, the bruise I had on that was friggin' epic. And apparently I was distinctly unimpressed by it all, needless to say. So, while I don't directly remember the moment, that's right, co-worker sent me a picture. He's obviously doing more penguins. Oh, download the friggin' picture. For some reason, he keeps sending me pictures that need downloading, and it's kind of not. Download the damn picture. I want to see the picture. Because apparently he's got 3 sea lions, so I want to see the picture. Oh, there it goes. That's not one of the pictures. Cheat. But yeah, so it's been a bit of a weird day, but I'm counting penguins and seeing a couple of seals was quite pleasant. So I don't object. And as I said the other day, I don't object to doing community servicey work. I really don't. do feel slightly bullied, the right word for that, into the, well, we're going to withhold part of your bonus if you don't do it. That feels a little bit... But at the same time, I got to do the spot the penguin stuff and everything on company time. And they can't really refuse it on the grounds that, well, they want you to do it for your bonus, so they can't really say no. So I spent today playing spot crap on the internet and not really doing any work. So I can see a point to this. I can be thinking this. I did actually do some work today, by the way. I did not just play spot shit on the internet, but the work I did do was oh so minor. I argued with the guy who claimed that the DNS was wrong on his machine and it wasn't working, when the example he showed categorically proved that it was working. So I had a bit of a fight with him. Because, well, you're wrong, dude. But it says this. No, your application says this. The machine does not. It's your app, dude. Something wrong with your app. Don't look at me. I don't have to fix your app. That's one of the joys I do have. I do not have to fix that for you. So yeah. But yeah, don't show me it working. DNS isn't working. Ping, server name. Back comes IP address. Here it is. Are you sure something's listening on the right machine and that's not a false message? Look. Make connection to remote server on port. Connected. So if your app can't do that, it's your app, dude. See you later. That's how the email train went, really. But we haven't changed anything except we've downloaded a whole new version and yeah. Thanks for that. Right. You done? 1, 2, 3, 4. One of you. So yes. In a way, I actually enjoyed today at work. Partly because it credited me for 8 hours of, well, spotting things. You have to log into different bits and do different bits, but for the 3 things I did, it made a conjoined effort of 8 hours. Didn't take 8 hours. It's a bit like dog years, to be honest. The clouds one was not as fruitful, in sense of it was more accurate on timing, but not a lot. The galaxies one was a friggin' steal. And the penguin one wasn't bad, but some of the pictures, when you got to click on 177 chuffing penguins, it actually does take a while. So that one's a bit more hit and miss. So I see more galaxies in my future. We're allowed to do 12 of these days a year. So you're allowed to do 1 day a month. I can see a habit forming. I can see me doing the day a month kind of thing. Just because, and to be honest, like Netkiss has said, you know, I can almost see me doing it for my own fun, just because, right? Make my own personal account on it and do some, because, well, why not? Because it is quite fun actually doing, so, playing spot penguins and things. I might look in to see if I can do it for my own, own fun. Did I add one then, or did I forget? But as I say, if it peases the world and gains me, my 5% of my bonus, then I will count frigging clouds if it helps, I'll see how many more of the count things ones I can find for a bit of variety, I'm pretty sure they're not going to let us do, I actually did wonder, because technically we're allowed, I think it's 87. I think we're allowed 87 hours a year or something. And I wondered, what would they do if I booked a whole week, counting penguins or something? Because they arguably can't complain. Because it's them that wanted me to do this. I would have been doing it otherwise. There are some other ones. So, for example, I think it's a county council want to get their Instagram presence up a bit, so they need you to like and comment on their posts, and that feels cheating. It's not like it's my own county council, it's somebody else's county council, and that's like buying views, isn't it? It's because in essence you are buying views, because it makes you wonder, doesn't it? These are not local penguins, I don't think. I don't think they actually tell you where the penguins are. But I guess what it is they're doing some form of population control and, want to check how many penguins there are in the world. Or in a particular penguin spot. To be honest, part of me says I don't really care. It was an easy day's work counting penguins. I counted 6.3 hours counting. Well, I wasn't just counting penguins, because I did the galaxies one for a bit too. But basically, I did 8 hours of the Well, it said I did 8 hours of counting penguins, arches, and galaxies. Yeah, me and my co-worker are never going to look at penguins and seals at the same again, I think. And we're going to get our other co-worker doing it, because as the 3 refugees from our old employer, we never had to do this before, and she's part-time and so has even less time, and so the fact that you can do a couple of hours work and be credited for a day, well, hallelujah, right? Especially as you can do it things like waiting in the car for the school run or whatever, sounds ideal to me. So I think we're going to see a fair bit of that going on. What I'll wait for next is you seem to be doing a lot of counting things. We feel you ought to have a little more variety in your community service. You can't just do 87 hours of counting penguins a year. You do need to do, actual stuff. Didn't say that. You said I had to amount, a minimum of 3 days and up to 87 hours of counting penguins, of community work. And I found I can count penguins. and the autistic brain cells in my head really quite like the spot the thing, because I quite like those kind of puzzles, and I'm usually quite quick at them. So I can get through quite a lot of the spot the things and pictures. Well, exactly. You know, I don't care what I'm counting, particularly. You know, whether it's arches, galaxies, or penguins, to be honest. But it's what my brain does really well. So leave me alone. I'm going to be counting insert whatever next, you know. Hang on. Let me pull out my work laptop. Not that you're going to get to actually see it, but let me sort this out a bit. Right. See what other ones there are, because, well, it's kind of a laugh, right? Open laptop, hang on. Click on thing. Click on thing. Where's the thing? I need to go back in here. There it is. I need to bookmark that as a thing. Done. So, do good. And I need to set it to United Kingdom. United Kingdom. Remote only. Okay. So, things you can do. Just as an idea. As a virtual thing, i.e. you do not have to leave your house to do it. Organise a fundraising ride for in the UK. No. Donate female gym kits in Birmingham. No. Share your insights on your career with students. No. You do not want to hear what I think of my career. Conduct mock interviews. Hell no. They'll all cry. Develop our multi-channel social media presence, i.e. click and like shit on thing. So there's a couple of them. Improve their website. Help raise prizes for a raffle. Enhance our impact through data analytics. How boring is that? Volunteer at the Wimpy Challenge. Well, that means going out. That's not virtual, you maggots. I said virtual. You chewed on my... No, remote only. Okay, well... mentor a group of young people with ASN in Scotland. It's online, so whatever. Mentor a group of young people in secondary school, Scotland. Sort donations for mums and babies. That's not online. Where's some more online things? Join an interactive session on gender equality. Maybe not. This I'd probably do, but I'm not sure where it is, which is join the pack with Jerry Green Dog Rescue. I'd almost certainly do that. It says it's 1 kilometre away, but then of course it's also for the UK, so let me go see where that is. And what you have to do. Why is scrolling on a laptop such shit? Basically do anything to help by the looks of it, but it doesn't say where they are. Oh, Broughton. Somewhere, well, I don't know where Broughton is. I'd have to look it up because I am not particularly good at geography and random place names unless they're bigger ones. Help prepare it. That's not online. Translate to empower children in Colombia. I can barely speak English and I'm dyslexic. The last thing you want is me doing translations. Teach refugee children in Maysot. Support young people and their carers in Hounslow. No thanks. So Hounslow, the only place where the sun never shines, even when it's shining. It's dark, even still. Amy, shut up. Support engineers of tomorrow. No thanks. See what else we've got in the whole kind of counting things type scenario. Nope. Hang on. Load more. Because of course it doesn't say count. That's the other thing, is you can't just do count. So, there's lots of bringing people together. A lot of these are not online. Help people not be lonely. No thanks. Assist in developing programs using JavaScript. Rather burn my eyelids off. I know I wrote our silencing stuff in JavaScript. Doesn't mean I liked it. Amy, will you shush, young lady? Record bedtime stories. Not with my voice, you don't. I have not got a voice for that. Will you shut up? Just shut your face. And the problem is you ask for more and it goes back to the top, so you've got to scroll right down to the bottom again. What's that one? Oh no, be a social media channel. End hunger, one post at a time. There's lots of followers on social media ones. Which is all well and good, but if I don't agree with you, I don't really want to do it. Having to scroll to the bottom every frigging time is really not. Test our free critical thinking course. Well, this would be good. I mean, you know, if I actually could help people who were, if helping people I knew and or whatever, it would be all right. But it's got to be like this predetermined lot. I don't suppose it's gonna... Let's look for identify and see if the word identify says it. Brings anything. That's right. No. Identify efficient financial archiving methods. That sounds really dull. And video editing. No. Let's see if we can get for the word count. I suppose counting is the thing. Where does count come into that? Yeah. I was hoping counting. See, most of this stuff is just stuff companies really should be paying people to do if they want this as, amplify us. Stop asking people to give up and claim it as a good, good for the sake of humanity is elevating some county council's online presence. Spot. There's nothing with Spot. What was the Galaxies ones? Classify. There you go. Let's try that. No, that's it. Fine. No, only one of those. Become a penguin. The actual title of the thing I did today was Become a Penguin Watcher to Monitor Populations. Monitor. No, monitoring frameworks, that's boring. And help map Martian clouds. So there might be the only three kind of really easy options out there. I mean, not that clicking like on some posts is hard work, but if I don't like it, I shouldn't have to click on it. Kind of feel slightly that, you shouldn't be buying views by persuading companies to send their employees to click on your shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That feels like cheating the system a little bit, if you know what I mean. I mean, it's not hard work. You can also do things like give blood, but I'm not allowed to. Because I would do that, but I can't. So, feeling slightly, discriminated against. Because apparently you get quite a few hours for giving some blood. So, it's either that or the guy goes every week, Because you can post your heroicness on the company kind of... We've got a bit like a Facebook thing. Of which I haven't really partaken yet. And you can post your good deed on it. And one guy posted he'd done like 9.5 hours blood donating. And it's like, either you've given a heck of a lot of blood, or it's very generous with its hours, So yes, but I actually quite enjoyed today, which makes a change. Well, in part because I did a day's work without kind of doing a day's work, if you know what I mean. I got to do something else for a change, which is always good. Variety is the spice of life and all that stuff. So, yes, it was kind of fun. I wish they just strongly encouraged you to do it rather than withheld funds, but, because that was one of the things that we all said when we got onboarded, was that that's a really nice idea, but given that you're located somewhere else in the country, you're not likely to have too much around our way, are you? Which will make it hard for us to physically do stuff. So hence we're all doing the virtual stuff. Oh no. I hate it when stitch counts don't work. It's the same as when bobbins don't work and you're like, oh shit. Because of course, it's never the row before. It is never the row before. It's always like 3 days ago, somehow. I mean, you can backtrack and do all of that. Wouldn't really want to, though. I mean, you can undo those 12 stitches and roll them back down and get to the bit where you made a mistake, fix it and roll them back up. But the tension will never be right, because you've either gained some or lost some, depending on whether you've got too many stitches or not enough stitches. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I went on like a Hobbit kind of level quest. I screwed up, and it must have been about 25 rows back in a shawl where there were more increases and decreases in yarn overs than was humanly necessary. And in fact, it seemed to be purely made up of... I suppose that's not too bad. But I literally had to go back 25 rows because instead of... Because it really showed. Because, of course, how come if it really, really shows, why is it you don't notice until far too much later? But once you've seen it, it stands out and it's kind of going, hello, me, hello. And you can't ignore it. And you're like, how did I miss that? It might as well be lime green on a black background. It just really stands out. And you're sitting there going, can't leave it. I've got to do something about it. So I went on this epic quest and I went back like 25 rows. And I had to do increases and cables and yarn overs and decreases. And it was a freaking nightmare. But I did it! I did it! I was so pleased with myself. Because, of course, it was one stitch. Back then, it was like 12 stitches at the top. It was unpleasant. But I got there. I did get there. 1, 2, 3, 4. It just proves it is possible. But, and it's a bit like I said about going back in my lace stuff. The biggest problem I have with going back and reworking something is that, so, you made a mistake. Shit happens. It's great. We all know that shit happens. We all know that we're human and, you know, someone will interrupt your counting. You'll lose your train of thought for insert whatever the reason was, right? The problem becomes... when you then try and fix it, well, who says you're not going to make some new and improved errors along the way? Because that can be a thing. So you've gone back to fix one fairly major mistake, and now you've got 3. Well, that's a good one, isn't it? Could be worse. I mean, 132 could be worse. I mean, it could be better. It could be a scarf, but it could be worse. Really could be worse. You could have made it out of like the world's thinnest sock yarn, and it's like 500 stitches, and then double knitted it, so now it's like 1,000. You know, it could be worse, but you have my sympathies on that one. 5. I think one of the things I struggle with rolling back, whether it's lace, knitting, anything, is you're faced with all of that effort that you've just done for however many hours. Thank you. I like these bobbins. They don't sit in the sticks as well because they are almost too straight. To the point. One actual thought on that is... they're like little condoms. They're so perfectly fitting. Sorry, world. Would be to add like a little rubber band, so it's got a bit of something for the elastic to grip on. Because, well, I've got coloured ones, and I've got not coloured ones. Because, well, I bought a load. Because they're really cheap. It was about £6 for all of them in told. And I've got, I think it's 500 of each, allegedly, although that doesn't look like 500. And to be honest, I'm not counting them. But there's a load. That's all that matters. There's a load. And if I want more, I can always buy more. Because, well, they're not going to go out the market. People will have braces for the rest of humanity. So, and the 3.5 ounce ones are, I bought the 6mm ones, because bear in mind these are 8mm wide. So there is some tension, but not too much tension, but not no tension. So they work really well, like here around the tops of my bobbins. And of course, the great part is so for sake of the argument, I want to make this longer, I just unwind it. And if it's too long, I roll it down, wind up the bobbin, and roll it back up again. Saves all this bloody half-hitch bollocks. It's actually a lot easier. But you can still put a reasonable amount of strain on it. So, dead happy with those. Thank you to Jamie once again for suggesting orthodontic and elastic bands rather than the friendship bracelet ones. Because, well, the friendship bracelet ones are just much bigger versions of the same thing. They're the same kind of width. But you have to fold them twice. And of course, in folding them twice, they become quite bulky. Which isn't necessarily a problem. I mean, you know, no one's going to die. And I have got a crap ton of them. I mean, really a monument. I've got an entire box of the bloody things. Got like 1,000 of them. Because they were really good for Honiton bobbins. But I actually think that these orthodontic ones would be even better. Because again, you don't have to twist them. You just slide them over the ends. That's always a bonus. So, what time is it? 8 o'clock. Sorry, I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet this evening. I did have some lunch, so I'm not going to die of starvation. Yeah. I understand. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's one of the things that I found really bizarre. If I was knitting if you gave me a blanket to knit, it would take me a lifetime. And I can't explain why, it just would take me a lifetime. Ask me to crochet a blanket, and I can do, sit down, a king-size bedspread in 11 days. Now, fair enough, I'm not going anywhere just yet. I'm going to hang around a bit more, but I understand the need for food because, well, hunger is definitely knocking at my door. I will be around for a little bit more. I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I don't want it to be too late when I finally get round to eating something. I mean, I'm hungry, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I'm not going to waste away here. Unfortunately, I have too much spare me for that to be a likely thing. So, you know, I could afford to skip a meal or two, or 22, to be honest. They always say that, but one thing they don't point out is that if your body doesn't actually get sustenance, it does weird things. You can't just starve yourself for a bunch of days. It doesn't actually work very well. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I did a load in double knit, and as you say, right, it is surprising that even though, in theory, and bear with me, crochet requires a lot more twisty of the hand, and a lot more effort per stitch, usually. I mean, I did most of mine in Tunisian crochet, so actually it was kind of easy on that front. But most of them had pictures, so umping back up the complexity. Tunisian crochet, by the way, does excellent cables. But you find yourself kind of being able to stonk through it. But for some reason, even though I'm not a slouch at knitting, I just can't seem to keep it up. I did make a couple of jumpers during lockdown in a real decent speed. Like a couple of weeks for a jumper, which I was wholly impressed with. Because, well, that's not normally me, you know. Why are there no bobbins coming out of these pins up here? Because they're all looped over. But it was one of those things is that I did find myself surprised by the speed of my jumper making abilities when it came down to it. Just because I really hadn't expected it to be quite so fast, because, well, normally it took me forever. So we're going to do the repeat process with the pins, I think. And you. How does that work? That works out a bit better. Right. Now we've got some bobbins. So yeah, I'm not a slouch knitter, and in fact I can knit pretty well. I mean, but at the same time, I did kind of. I'm not. For some reason, blankets are not my thing. I mean, one thing I will say, if you try Tunisian entrelac blankets, holy crap, do they go quick? They really, 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 really go quick for some reason. Because of course you're only ever making a tiny little square. And so you stonk through it and you're done before you almost before you feel like you started. You chew through balls of wool, mind. Because you kind of go and you know, you've used up half a ball of wool and you're like, hang on, really? Do I need another ball of wool already? Really? So I can definitely tell you that Tunisian crochet is kind of a thing. Definitely helps me make my blankets quicker. Plus, of course, it doesn't tend to curl like knitting does. So, and it doesn't. Well, while it stretches, it doesn't stretch like knitting. So you don't have that worry about how it's going to stretch if you wash it, and people don't have to try and wash it flat, and it doesn't tend to do any of that, which is quite good. Plus, of course, it's really good for pictures, because instead of making little V's, it makes little kind of, well, they're C shapes almost, but they're kind of square, so they make really quite good kind of pixels, so you can convert any picture in pretty easily. Best done with cross-stitch software, by the way. Wholly recommend doing it with cross-stitch software. Now, because this one's longer than it is wide, we're going to go across the world this time. Not down. So I need 4 more bobbins. But you. Remember I said about that girl who got the grant to go across Europe and learn lace making techniques and stuff, and there's a bit of you going, how on earth did you swing that? I've been watching I watched a couple of her videos after work today, and They were not particularly long. And she didn't have to talk a lot of crap. Oh. That was my stomach, I apologise. I still can't believe I got 50 wretched triangles to go. 50 of them. Dear God. Somehow that doesn't feel right. That I've got 50 of them to go. Let me do a quick calculation on that, because I'm confident this is triangle number 22. However, it doesn't sound right in my head. See, that doesn't work then. But how can it not? Hear me out. This can't be triangle 22. But it is. So, 4 triangles a square, we've done 5 squares. That's 20. We all know that. I've done one more, 21. This is triangle 22. However, if you take 13 and times it by 4, you get 52. Meaning this is 51, which is an odd number. Let's ignore that. It's a bit like when I think in time and my brain doesn't work. I'm going to ignore all of that. When in doubt, just ignore it. We know this is triangle 21. Sorry, 22, so we're sticking with this is triangle 22. And that there are 72 because, well, 6 12s are 72, and we know that we've got 18 6s, which kind of is the same deal, so... definitely shouldn't have started this section. I think I've got the yawnies. Apologise. Tenchi! My friend! How's Tenchi? I had a weird day today. Because do you remember in the last lot I had I had two pairs of light coloured bobbins, and in this one it'll be this packet here that's also got some more with beads on. They are the worker threads for my cloth stitch, so that is why they look different, so that I can spot them. I could do more subtle things, but as they gave me free 12 ones with beads on, I thought I'd use the bead ones. Because, well, I've got 12 of them. So I've got a pile more with beads on and a pile more without. Yeah, I've got beads. Ouch, my knee just cracked. But not in a kind of good way. It's a bit weak and feeble, actually. Yeah. So let's go on with it. So yes, I had a funny day today because I've explained to everyone already is that as part of my job, some of my bonuses dependent upon doing community work. So I spent today doing some community work. But not in the go out and clear, OAP homes garden, or, spend the day feeding the homeless or anything interesting. I did them from the privacy of my own home. And I was identifying clouds on Mars. Playing Spot the Galaxy. And counting penguins. And because, well, it's the kind of stuff you'd probably give a junior school kid today, I kind of enjoyed myself, actually. It was a good laugh. I foresee more of these days in my future because, well, A, we've got to do at least one a quarter. It's not political, and I appreciate that a lot because, for example, one of the things we can do is write to our MP. That's all and good, but what if I don't agree with the subject for which, because bear in mind they give you a templated thing and pretty much write the letter for you. What if I don't agree with your standpoint? I don't want to write to my MP about that because, well, maybe I agree on this particular occasion with my MP or against, not against him. And, registering my thought of the day, I really can't imagine anything more dreary. So, don't feel that that is a necessarily good use of my time. There's quite a few join our Instagram, like and comment on posts to help it get more, hits and visibility. It's called buying views, and I don't agree with that. In fact, I definitely, as someone who doesn't get that many likes and view on a number of things, I really object to falsifying someone else's numbers. Thank you. I mean, especially in the name of my bonus. So don't feel quite so good about that. They have quite a few physical ones, so you can go and donate blood and, you know, help out in various things and do things with kit, you know, not the wrong things, but do good things like teaching kids stuff. And you know, to be honest, if there was a local one for me that says go and teach them something arty and crafty, I'd probably be all right with that. But too much of it is semi-political, and I'm sorry, but I was always taught to leave my political views at home when it goes to work. Now, you see, giving blood is one of the things that you're allowed to do, but unfortunately, I am not allowed to give blood. So, I can't do that. No, which is a bit of a shit, actually, because I would have done that. I would have definitely picked that option, because I do agree very much with giving blood. But, of course, I can't, so I can't. Although I do find it really kind of amusing. So, here in the UK, and I'm not entirely sure what it's like in the rest of the world, because why would I? We have quite a lot of rules about who can and who cannot go blood donating. And while I understand the need for many of the rules, I do, truly I do, there are a few that I find slightly irksome. Now, you can find them out for yourself. You can go to Red Cross. Is it Red Cross or is it St John's? Anyway, you can do UK blood donating. It'll bring up a website and you can view the rules. So, for example, you can't go blood donating if you've recently had a tattoo. You can't go blood donating, or at least last time I read it, if you are gay and you have recently changed partner. You can't go blood donating if you've been to certain places on holiday in the last insert time period. But the one that gets me is my blood is keeping me alive. I am arguably healthy. So if it's capable of doing that, pretty sure, you know. Well, and well, having had my car accident and required some blood, I kind of felt I owed the world to give back. And at that point, I was allowed to. Since having leukemia, I'm not, because I've received blood since 2000, I think it's 2002 or whatever it is. Now, as I just said, the bit that annoys me is that my blood is good enough to keep me alive. So let's assume one of you is, you know, kind of bleeding out, kind of live or die moment. They're running out of blood because our blood lot are always whining they haven't got enough blood. But the bit that I struggle with is the fact that I can't give blood because I had blood nearly 20-something years ago. By medical's own rules, every cell in my body has changed within a 7-year period. So at 7 years, every single cell that was in your body has changed. So it's not like the original blood is in there. Now, if it's keeping me alive, and it's doing a pretty decent job of it, which it seems to be, so, you know. As I said, if one of you were bleeding out right here, right now, and the hospital's a bit, oh, well, we haven't really got any of your type left. You know, there's been a bit of a shortage, and we haven't got none. Knowing that I have no communicable diseases, and it's keeping me alive and doing a reasonable job of it, would you say no to my blood, knowing the choice is death? Pretty sure you wouldn't. I mean, sure, it's not the organically hand-reared chicken, but it's a bit more maybe battery farm level in that it's, it's had a bit of an interesting life along the way. But if it's keeping me alive, pretty sure it could help somebody else. And it actually does annoy me that, it used to, I don't tend to watch live TV anymore, so I don't tend to see too many ads, thank God. But that, certain times a year, they would be hammering because they've not got enough blood or blood products. And yet, nearly everybody I know falls into a category that means that they can't give blood. Well, either you need some or you don't. Now, I do appreciate you might want to grade it as this is our best blood, usable and great. This is the for emergencies only, maybe probably chucking it in the bin at the end of the day. But don't be whining you've got no blood when you won't let half the people actually volunteer. And to be honest, the reason I can't give blood is because I received somebody else's. Well, if it was good enough to be given to me, how can't, between us, we give it to someone else? Now, as I said, it kind of bothers me because, because I have needed blood product, I am definitely in a position where I would like to, should I have the chance. And given that they irradiate most of it anyway, what exactly is going to be so bad with my blood that it was good enough to be given to me, but I can't give it to somebody else? I don't entirely understand that. And I'd love to. I mean, I do understand the, if you just had a tattoo, you could have an infection and not be aware of it. You could, or any of these kind of things. You've been to a dodgy place. I say dodgy as in not that it was dodgy per se, but, that there are some weird illnesses there and that, you may not have signs of them yet. And I get all of that stuff, so I have no problem with that. But if I haven't had blood products in 20-something years, why can't I give blood? Because, it's been a while now. If it was going to do something, you'd like to think it would have done it by now. So, why then can I not give blood? And I do appreciate that, yes, back in 2000 odd, because I had mine in 99, there was a chance of CJD. Again, would like to think it would have shown up by now. I mean, 25 years later, surely it would have kind of, almost statute of limitations of showing up, I mean, if I get cancer again, even if I got leukemia again today, they don't count it as the same one coming back. It's a new one. Because it's been more than 7 years. Because every cell in your body has changed. Well then, surely after 7 years, I should be allowed to give blood. It is a very passionately not understood thing, and because I don't know any people who do the blood donor thing, I can't find someone to explain it to me enough that I understand. Because yes, the website says thou shalt not, but it doesn't say why. It just says if you've had this, you can't. You fill in a little questionnaire and it kind of, well, exactly. I mean, at least you know what's wrong with me, or what has been wrong with me. And I think that's part of the reason it annoys me, is because they irradiate your blood on the ground, so they don't know what's wrong with you. So they irradiate it. Go on, really tell me you can spot mine from everybody else's? Now, I don't have the world's rarest blood group, so I'm not my mother. So from that point of view, I guess it's not too bad. But there is a bit of you that does kind of sit there going, I'm sorry, but I thought you were short of blood. If you are short of blood, surely you want my blood. I appreciate that you're not going to be handing it out as, the best thing in the world. And that, it is the, use others first. But surely if you are that short of blood, people would rather not die from lack of blood and would rather have some that is not particularly known, you know, that, bear in mind, I've got a thing somewhere. She says, looking around and not spotting it in a hurry. It's on my desk somewhere. To go and have a blood test. So they stab me every so often to check I'm still alive anyway. So they should know whether I've got anything or not. As you say, Tenchi, some of surely the people who are more likely to have pit problems are the people who don't, because they don't know what they've got. I mean, you know, probably sharing a bit much, but as I haven't had sex in like 20 years, can we not be pretending that I'm a high risk candidate? It's not like I caught something that way. You know? I'm the Queen of Dull, for Christ's sake. Yeah, as I said, I don't understand it. And like anything you don't understand, it's hard to accept it because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, as I say, some of the things I do understand and I know why they do it and I get all of that. You know, there's plenty of logic behind excluding certain things, and you know, you've been to a country that has, say, malaria and you don't want to pass that on because, you know, I get all of that. I haven't left the country since I was a child and was old enough to have my own passport. I haven't done the do's for 20 years. I am not a high risk, people. In fact, I'm probably one of the safest bets you've got. You know, can we not be pretending that this is bad stuff in here? You know, I need to do some more pokey things with my elastic band. I put an elastic band on it so it can't tangle up in amongst the pins, but of course it already tangled. So there are a few bits to undo or untangle, and quite often the easiest way is to throw it in and put it back in. There we go. I mean, you think of, I don't know, no offence, youngsters, but you know, you go out on the lash, you know, you meet up with a couple of people, maybe you do the do, and surely these people are far more risky than I am. They go outside, they mingle with weirdos, you know, or other weirdos more accurately, you know. Surely I am like the safest pile of blood you can get. I really must book my blood test. I'll get a shitty note going, a week ago we asked you to get a blood test and we don't seem to have your results yet. I know, because I've been busy. Doing nothing. I've been busy and never quite got around to it. See, I used to do things like go on a Friday afternoon, but of course I've now committed to do this on a Friday afternoon, so shame. Because there is also a part of me that doesn't want to know the blood results, so because if they don't find good things, I don't want to know, really. You know, I'm tired of shitty news. I want some good news in life. I want to find out I won the European lottery or something, you know? Not that I play, but, you know. I used to play the lottery, but I am the most cursed person when it comes to playing lotteries. So the UK lottery has a lottery that plays twice a week. And I played it with boyfriend at the moment for the first 2 years. Oh, it is. It's chronic. But me and boyfriend at the moment, when the UK lottery started, played twice a week, every week. I think it started as once a week and then it quickly became twice a week. And we played the National Lottery every time. And in 2 years, we never won a single thing. And we played 2 lines a week, so each of us would, pay £1 a line. And so we were paying 104 quid a year. And we never won a pound. Never won a single penny. This doesn't feel right. That's because it's not a pin thing. That's why it didn't feel right, because it wasn't right. See, look. See? All with bobbins. All with prettinesses. Alright. Let's grab that. Put that over there. So yeah. We played for 2 years. Twice a week. For as long as we could remember. And never even won so much as a pound. When they brought it online, I tried again. I played for about 5 years. I only did like 1 a week, but I tried for 5 years. I think I won 5 quid in 5 years. Having spent the best part of, 250 quid, I won a whole £5. I'm not even sure it was £5. It might have been £2.11 or something. It was pitiful. I remember that much. So I've not exactly... I've kind of gone off lotteries because, sure, yes, should you be the one, maybe you will win a decent amount of money. I mean, for example, our council, apparently, allegedly, actually seen it, is now doing one where... Sit down and hold your hats, people. Take photos of your recycling and you can be put in for a national lottery where you could win £1,000. You want me to take pictures of my recycling every week on the off chance that I can win £1,000 amongst the other 50 billion people in this country? Now, if it was 1 million, there's a bit more incentive to be photographing your frigging recycling here. But, I mean, I assume, because I also assume that you have to pay to enter. I'm sure it's... No, people won't be doing, because at the same time, especially if they have to pay to enter, well then, they're not going to pay to enter, because no one's going to want to pay to submit pictures of their recycling on the off chance that they'll win a handful of quid. You see, that's the kind of thing, is that it's not that £1,000 isn't worth having, because of course it is. Someone said phone rang right here, right now, and you answered the phone, and it said we have £1,000 stroke units of your currency for you, unless you're things like the krona or whatever that has 50 billion for a glass of water. But the equivalent of say $1,000 or £1,000 ish. I mean, I know they're not the same, but decent. I mean, it's a reasonable amount of money, but it's not exactly having a mega party. You're not gonna buy a yacht and do a 10-year round the world cruise on it kind of thing, right? But I think, to be honest, we've all, if you do win something, I mean, there's quite a few UK ones that you can get £1,000 allegedly. There's the postcode lottery. There's the British Heart Foundation. There's quite a few companies that if you pay 10 quid a month, you might win £1,000. Well, doesn't feel like I'm getting a good, let's face it, lotteries are never good deals. But, you know, at least with something like the European lottery where you might win 350 million, there is an incentive to chip in. Because while the pool is pretty big, so is the prize money should you win. So if you throw a quid in that every week, well, you know, a pound's not really going to do you so much good in your pocket. And should your magic numbers come up and you get 350 million, well, you're minted. And now life is utterly at your command. I mean, we all know that money does not buy happiness, but you'll be able to cry in the most luxurious manner and surrounded by a pit of puppies and you know, and pay someone else to do all your housework and to do all of this and to wash your car and to drive you around. And so frankly, you can do whatever the fuck you like because you've got money coming out the wazoo, right? So from that point of view, you know, you could live, you know, you could do something you wanted that you really weren't ever sure was going to pay money. So, for example, I could do this 40 hours a week. And it doesn't matter then whether any of you buggers watch or not, or whether I actually ever earn anything through Twitch or not. Because, well, I'd have 350 million in the bank, and I wouldn't care, because I've already got my bills paid. It is that kind of moment, right? And dear God, I don't want to think of the interest on that. Hang on a moment. Let me think about this. Let me do a small calculation here. I just want to quickly grab something. Oh, come on! Stop just giving me the little mini circle. Why is it that shit only ever runs slowly when you actually need it? Screw it, I'm going to go by a random calculation. So I've got a feeling it was £195 worth of interest per month for £100,000 was the number I saw. So 350 million divided by 100,000 is obviously 3,500 times 195. So the interest you would get alone per month, if you just put it all in the bank, £682,500. That is more than the cost of the average decent 4-bedroom house around here, right? It's not much more, but it is more than a 4-bedroom house here in the country, right? Per month. Now, you would also have to pay tax on that at whatever the rate is above 40%, which I can't remember. I think it's 70. So if you times that by 0.3, you would be getting in your pocket £204,000 a month. Well, let's say you decide to get a full-time housekeeper because, well, cleaning your house sucks donkey balls. So you buy a housekeeper. She comes every day. You pay her 25 grand a year. Because it's not a full-time job, really. Because she needs to clean shit and do shit, but you know, if it takes her more than like an hour a day or something, what the hell are you doing in there? So maybe even 2. I mean, it's a mint job for starters, but let's say you pay her 25 grand because it's a crap job and you wouldn't want to do it. Well, you've still got £175,000 a month to spend. Mind you, I was looking at the, something came up on my shorts the other day. Not shorts, actually, but the short videos, right? I've always had a bit of a fascination for a McLaren F1. My dream is to die having driven one. And what knocked the crap out of me when my dad died. Well, before my dad died, my dad's neighbour, so my dad lived at number 2. The guy who owned number 1 owned a McLaren F1. And I never got to sit. He was always out whenever I showed up. I'm sure he did it on purpose, but he was always out. He was a busy bloke, mainly because he was out driving the bloody thing. He replaced it with a Ferrari, which is very disappointing. Which, when my dad died, there was me one Sunday morning, you know, sitting in the chair, feeling a bit sorry for myself, and what the fuck? So I kind of rushed out the house, went to go and see what it was. It was him starting up his car. And it was like, hi, thought I'd introduce myself. Where's the McLaren? What do you mean you got rid of the McLaren? You replaced it with this? Really? Okay. Yeah, he replaced his McLaren with a Ferrari. Dude! Anyway, on these short videos, you have to replace the fuel tank on a McLaren every 5 years, and it costs £100,000 just for the fuel tank. I've had some old cars. I've had some really old cars. I've never had to replace a fuel tank. What the fuck are you doing for a McLaren F1 that every 5 years you've got to spend £100,000 on it just for the fuel tank? Let alone anything else that you need doing to it. That's just the fuel tank. And you're sitting there going, I see why Manj got rid of it now. But I was so gutted because obviously, you know, when I was spending time at my dad's house, there was every hope. And obviously he fired up his car, so he was there. So I literally sprinted across the road, kind of barefoot, not quite bare, but, you know, not doing a lot better. And it was like, hello! Oh, it's a Ferrari. Yeah, I got rid of the McLaren. What? You bugger! And more to the point, when some friends of mine came to help me clear my dad's house, we were mooching through, and up came the frem, and I went, you need to leave. What do you mean? You are coming with me now. Because they are absolutely, I mean, hell-bent Ferrari fans. Like, you know, holding the wife up over a Damocles sword kind of thing. Vroom goes the Ferrari and he's dropped her. You know, So I went and introduced them to the man with the Ferrari, and they were out there an hour, like, drooling over it. It made their day, and it made up for the fact that they were helping me with my crap. So, but yeah, I can't believe he got rid of the McLaren. It was my one hope that, you know, because I did say to him, I said to my dad, you've got to tell him I want to sit in it. I want to be driven in it. I want to preferably like spin it around a car park. I need to, and he got rid of it before I got to. I mean, how rude is that? It's terrible. So I need to sort this bobbin out. It's been annoying. How rude is that? He got rid of it and didn't tell me so that I couldn't come down and do a last hurrah and at least sit in it. So rude. Yeah, I didn't want to go down yet. I wanted to go across. Idiot. Right. So yeah, I always wanted a McLaren F1, I have to say. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't really want the bills. Don't really want the insurance. Christ, I didn't really want to pay up for Paxo this year. By the way, Paxo is a Mini. But I fixed him. He's MOT'd and insured and all the other things that he has to be. He's drivable. He's working. I have a working car. This feels all bollocks, so I'm going back in time to sort this out. Because I stopped in the middle and then my brain farted. Which is what my brain does. So you should probably... No, you wouldn't be crossed. Just like you are technically not crossed. And you now are, which you should be. So I'll scooch Inch you back up a bit. Put the pin in. Remember where we got to this time. Do the thing. Do the thing. Yeah, part of me would love to have won the European lottery to be able to quit my job. Not because I hate my job. I don't actually hate my job. I hate many things about my job. I hate how back when I started. I think this is the weirdest thing. So I don't know what it's like in other countries, so feel free to chip in if you know. When I started work back in 1980 something, it was about what you did, not who you were. So, while there was the expectation that you wore a suit to work, pretty much everywhere, unless you had specific uniform, so nurses and policemen and stuff. Everybody else, pretty much in an office, was expected to wear a suit. But, realistically, if you were a bit weird and you weren't customer facing, no one cared. If, it was only if you were customer facing and, you had bright green hair or something, they might have kind of felt that was inappropriate. But realistically, they didn't really care. If you were back in the warehouse lifting boxes, you could have tattoos and bits of metal sticking out all over, and they really wouldn't have cared. Because it was about how many boxes did you move, and did you move enough boxes, and could you move more boxes, right? And so it very much, the concentration was on, did you do your job? How many mistakes did you make? Can you do better? But also, if you did make a mistake, you probably got fired for it, but the next lot didn't really care. They'd give you another chance, right? There was not a lot of prejudice against having been fired from something because, well, people could fire you for pretty much anything. There was a lot less red tape in the whole firing process, and so they didn't actually have to prove that you were worth firing. They just fired you anyway. Well, and to be honest, I gave it as an example because obviously it is, if you are the kind of painted lady with bits of metal sticking out of literally everything, some people can find that a little off-putting. Depending on what you're doing. If you work in a tattoo parlour, you'd look really stupid if you had none, right? People would find you a bit weird. It just would, right? Now, but if you're a receptionist, for example, if you've got spiky green hair and bits of metal hanging out of everything, and tattoos pretty much so they're not even sure what colour you are, that could put people off. And so they would obviously rather you didn't look like that to be a receptionist. But as I said, back then they were kind of forgiving in that it was much more, did you do the job for which, if your job is to move 100 boxes a day from A to B, if you moved 100 boxes from A to B, you did your job. If you did more than 100 boxes, hallelujah. If you did less than your boxes, grumble, grumble, right? Today, it almost seems that it doesn't matter whether you can do a job or not. That's irrelevant. To be honest, I've never... I had my ears pierced, right? I'm not going to pretend that I don't. Well, at least he was honest, right? Now, there are piercings that I really don't care either way, that do what you like, right? There are a few that I kind of don't get. So, for example, eyelids. Why do people do that? Eyebrows, really not sure about those so much. They don't bother me. The eyelid ones bother me because I've got a thing about eyeballs, but it's your body. If you want to fuck it up, you do that. If you want a nose piercing, if you want lip piercings, if you want your tongue pierced, learn to speak properly afterwards, though, I will say. Don't be hard because you can't talk because you got things stuck in your teeth. If you've got your anatomy pierced in more private zones, you're cool, right? Really don't care. But one thing that I did find really amusing when I was in hospital with leukemia was there was a kid who was doing kind of work experience, but it wasn't forced work experience. It was, he chose to volunteer in the hospital. And he used to come around, he used to deliver food at tea times and do some other minor detail stuff. Because he wasn't that old. And he really took a shine to me. Not because he fancied me or anything, but just because I was always happy to see to him. I was always said hello to him. I was always nice to him. Lots of other people weren't the same, so he kind of enjoyed coming to see me. And I remember one day when he started his shift, he came flying in my room. Liz, what? I've got this. Oh, Liz, I got the honey. And he'd been banging on about it for a while. Finally got his tongue pierced. And of course it was well swollen by this point. Because he'd had it done yet the day before or something. So it had swelled good at this point. And it was like, I'm kind of pleased for you because clearly it makes you happy. So I'm happy for you that you're happy. Great, right? Because I am one of those people. As long as it doesn't affect me and it makes you happy, there is a bit of me that really doesn't mind. You know, I'm happy if you're happy, and I'll be happy for you because you're happy about it, right? There are a few exceptions, obviously a few illegal matters kind of thing, but in general, if it's a harmless thing and it's all above board and it only affects you kind of thing, then darling, you do whatever you want to do. It's your body. I may not agree with it for myself. I may wonder why you're doing it. But if you want to do that, you do that, right? And he'd had this thing. And he couldn't speak for weeks. Not properly. I found it kind of funny. Just because he couldn't speak. So, yeah. And yeah, he was so proud of it. So, again, as I say, I think, but back in the 80s, it was much more of, we hired you so that you can shift boxes. Whereas today, we hired you to shift boxes, but we're going to judge you on the amount of training you did and whether you were seen as a positive influence in the workplace. We don't actually care whether you actually moved any boxes. But if you went to all the right things and did all the right things and made the company sound good on radio, kind of thing, then we'll call that good. And it's like, I'm sorry, but surely you want someone who can do the job. Surely the most important part is getting the job done. Secondary is how pretty you look, or how whether you I don't know, planted flowers for the OAP home, and made the company look good because they could put their name on it. It's not that I'm against that, because obviously, doing good deeds is a worthwhile thing, and people should be encouraged to do goodness, because frankly, there ain't a lot of good going about. But surely, if you're employed to do a job and you're shit at it because you're too busy, doing other things, then that's not really kind of, you're not really being the team player. You're not doing your bit of the job, So yeah, I've always struggled with that. I've struggled with that one a lot in more recent years, because it's less and less about whether you did your job and more about who you are as a person. And obviously, quite a lot of the time, there are things about yourself you cannot change. So I know, for example, I have been marked down because I'm autistic. Well, I can't change that. I can't do anything about it. And I don't hide it. And I don't use it as an excuse. But there are things that, autistic people are great at. There are things that we suck at. And, I can't really change some of that. I can try, and I have been trying for years. But at the same time, it doesn't mean I will ever succeed. What's the matter, little one? I know those days. What is it? 8:30. I'm going to get to the bottom of this section. Oops, it's 2. And call it quits, I think. For I am hungry, and I need to have foodage. Because, well, I might fade away. I have to not eat for quite a while before I faded away, but... So here's, as we're talking controversial, one of the things that I saw on Threads the other day, well, last night I think it was actually, before I went to bed, was there was a lady who works in a food bank, or she works in voluntary care or something. It wasn't entirely clear, but she got an urgent call from someone saying that basically they had no food, no nothing, that they've landed in a shelter with nothing, a sheltered house, and there's nothing. They've got no food, no method of transport, nothing. So she put together a big care package with lots of food, took it round, and they went, "Oh, I'm not eating that." So, we all know that there are many times in life that we don't eat. There are things that we don't enjoy eating. Hello, I am a fussy eater. I am well aware of that. But if you are truly at your wit's end because you have no food and you've got children and, you're not going to be getting a McDonald's voucher in from a food bank. You're going to be getting tinned goods, frozen stuff. If you have specific true dietary requirements, such as you're celiac or whatever else, then, that's a fair cop because you physically cannot eat certain things. But if you were that hungry, you would accept. I mean, and don't get me wrong, and this is where it's slightly controversial. I do understand the comment that I read that kind of triggered my brain cells for that hour of the night was if you are truly starving hungry, vegetarian and veganism and all that kind of stuff is optional. If that's, yes, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have it and it's not your first choice of food and maybe you're not particularly against it. But if you are truly hungry, surely you would eat anything. Secondly, if you're not prepared to eat it, you could possibly trade with somebody else. But just slamming it back in someone's face who's gone around organising a food parcel and bus passes and all this kind of stuff seems really, really bad. And quite a few people were posting on it about how they had seen similar kind of problems where a company was giving out a TV, but it was only a 13-inch TV, and the family wanted to know which company it was to complain because they wanted a bigger one, because their free TV wasn't big enough. Now, I do admit, as a family TV, a 13-inch TV is really not big enough. However, if you have none, and someone gives you a free one, be nice about it. There was one where there was I think it was Greek restaurant, you'll have to forgive me, and for Thanksgiving they'd been handing out free meals to people who were vulnerable or whatever, and one person had got family. She'd asked for 6 children, 2 adults, extended family. They'd provided them all enough food for Thanksgiving. Saw them the week later. How was your dinner? Oh, we threw it away because we assumed it was going to be tapas. Now, someone said, surely in 2025, we should not be saying beggars can't be choosers. I do, to a large extent, agree with that in that, you know, we can't just say to people, you will eat, I know, mung beans because that's what we've decided you're fit for. However, you should still be grateful that they tried and try and do some form of deal to sway it more in your favour, right? Because like everything, if someone does you a favour and you spit it back in their face going, oh my god, this is gross, right? Well, they're not likely to want to try so hard next time. You know, if you have real vehement dietary things that you don't eat, then when they say they're going to organise you a box, mention it, surely. Say, well, you know, just so you know, I'm a vegan or whatever it is, or I'm celiac, I can't eat this, or, you know, because, you know, people have allergies and all those kind of things. And you're being quite reasonable because you're helping them direct their time in advance. It's not that you're being ungrateful, but, you know, it would be a waste giving you something that you're not going to eat, right? And that maybe you will not be able to pass on, and it would be wasted. But there's ways, like everything, there's also the ways to do it, isn't there? There's the, you know, well, I'm not fucking eating that shit, is kind of, you know, which is why most adults have problems with their teenagers, is not because of what they want, although that can be an issue, obviously, but a lot of the time, it's because of how they say it. It's because how entitled they will act of, well, I shouldn't have to. Well, why not? What makes you so precious? You know, it brings that out in a lot of us. You know, who made you so high and mighty that you can't do that? You know, yeah. Sometimes I find some of these things quite thought-provoking, and it is I do agree that, you know, just because the person who put my box together, I know, is a seafood lover, doesn't mean I am. I mean, it's not that I can't eat it, so from that point of view, you know, it won't kill me. But by preference, really rather wouldn't. And so surely the answer is, oh, thank you very much. Just so you know, though, not really into fish. But I will eat this, and I'm very grateful for it. But, you know, maybe if I have to come in future, I'll remind you that, you know, maybe if we've got some other choices, I would appreciate that. But I also understand if all you've got is fucking fish. Because, well, if you're not paying for it, you have the choices of you have only a limited choice of what's available, really. So in that sense, no, beggars can't be choosers, because you know, what if the only thing they've got to offer you is from the local fish market? What if, you know, you've got a choice of, you know, 2 vegetables and fish? Well, then your meal's going to be veg and fish, isn't it? It's 3, 4, 5, 6. Bit of an angle on that. Let's sort some of this out. So yeah, I don't know. I see both sides, because, you know, I know that should I find myself in such a position, I wouldn't be too keen if you handed me a box of green vegetables, because they make me sick. And so I don't really want them. It's a waste of your time and money. But I also know that technically it's good for me. It just makes me tend to vomit. But it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But by preference, if there are other choices, such as the many vegetables that I do eat, well, I'd rather have some of those, please. And you can give these to someone who will eat these, because, well, frankly, I don't really want them. And even my dog won't eat some of them, because my dog's not stupid. It'll eat somebody's poo, but it will not eat those. And in my mind, that says a lot about some of the green vegetables. So, yeah, I do enjoy reading some of these trains, because there's always someone who's morally outraged on every level that, you know, what do you mean they weren't grateful, you know? And to an extent, I agree with that, because, my parents, but when Aunt Bessie gives you that mean thing for Christmas, you were programmed on fear of slap later, that if you didn't tell them how great and wonderful it was and how it was going to be the best thing in your life till your dying day, you were in trouble. The fact that you never wanted to see it ever again, and frankly would yeet it off the end of a pier given the chance, is neither here nor there. Aunt Bessie doesn't need to know that you want it. That is your best desire. That the best thing you can do with her Christmas present is to learn to yeet it as far as you can. So I don't know. I think it makes life very complicated because I do see both sides. I feel for people who get given a box of stuff they'd really rather not have. So, for example, imagine, I'm really poor, I'm needing a box, I haven't got, my clothes are looking really shabby and that I really need new ones because they're dirty and horrible and made of holes. Don't really want a frigging skirt or a dress, though. No thanks. But if that's all there is, well, hello, wear the damn dress. At least until you can do better, right? I guess that's because that's the era I was growing up in, is you will be grateful for what you get. And also bear in mind my parents were inevitably very poor. So I didn't get many presents, I didn't get many things. And so I had to be grateful whether I liked it or not. Because that was all there was to have. And I didn't get to sway it in any shape or form. On top of that, all the things that I don't eat, my dad did kind of, well, actually that's not quite true because he didn't do sprouts either, but primarily vegetable wise, the few things as I ate as a kid, he didn't, and the few things he ate as a vegetable, I didn't. So we didn't agree on any vegetables bar potatoes, pretty much. It was a nightmare in our house. And 99% of the time, as the child, I lost out because, well, voting rights. You're the child, you do as you're told. Okay. And so, it always makes me laugh when you see these children who, like, I hate my parents, they bought me the black iPhone, not the gold one. They bought you an iPhone, dude. My parents would never have dreamed. If my parents were alive today, and I was a child, my parents would never have bought me an iPhone. My parents wouldn't have bought me a phone. They wouldn't have bought me a Nokia 3310 even today. They would not have bought me a phone. They would not have bought me a computer. They would have not bought me... Pretty much, they wouldn't have bought me anything. Bar a few bits of food and maybe a pair of trousers and, a few pairs of grunts kind of thing. Everything else was down to me. And out of my pocket money. I had to buy that because they didn't have the money. They were giving it to me as my pocket. What little they had, they gave me as my pocket money, and that was insulting. All the things that I had in my bedroom that I had pleasure in, I'd had to buy for myself. I bought myself a black and white TV, one with a little turny knob thing on it. And I got really freaking accurate at changing the channel in an instant. I bought myself a hi-fi. It was one of those all-in-one bloody awful jobs. But I bought myself a hi-fi. When I got older, I bought myself a pile of separates. But I had to buy that. I bought my bicycle. I bought my car. I bought my computer. I bought a couple of computers over the years. I had to buy them. I had to save up and I had to buy. Do you know how hard it is at £10 a month to save up for £1,000 computer when you're not allowed a Saturday job? This, my friends, is why you learn bell ringing and singing in the choir, because it's church-based and your parents can't really object to that. And you can get, maybe even £10 a week. But on top of your £10 a month from your parents. But you're sitting there and it's... Frankly, I'm not going to say I was into prostitution, but I would almost have sold my body for money if it would have helped, Hence, I just didn't have stuff as a child. And I didn't know that everyone else had life different. And I think it's really weird for me when I look at, some people's kids and they've been here, they've gone to abroad, they've been and done all of that, They go here regularly. They've got that. They've had this bought for them. They've got that bought for them. And it's like, my parents wouldn't have done that. For Christmas, I got a fluffy toy that my mother had made. And for my birthday, I usually got a book. Hey, Zukan! How you doing, my friend? You've just arrived in time for me to be kind of packing up and just ranting about life in general, as I inevitably do. But we have made some triangle. Look, we have triangle. There is triangle. In fact, I need to take a photo of it. I should have taken bollocks. Should have taken a photo beforehand. Meant to take a photo beforehand. I only just realised forgot to take photo. Indeed, I really meant to take photo of triangle before. Bollocks. Utter bollocks. Every month I get a thing from my energy supplier and it goes, open me to see if you're a winner. And every month, no surprise, no I'm not. And it's kind of like, it's an email. I doubt my email's different to anybody else. I almost would be surprised if anyone actually ever wins. Because I can't imagine that they're really doing different emails for people. Can't believe I forgot to take a photo first. And that's the kind of thing my parents would have done. My parents would have bought me maybe a packet of tea towels. Or, you know, it would have been something practical. Even if I lived at home, it would still have been something very practical for, are you leaving yet, kind of thing, right? And it's not that I was ungrateful for any of it, because I wasn't. I was very grateful for any of it. But I never realised that everyone else got piles of stuff and that I got one thing. I never realised until so much later. And, well, it was normal. And I think, you know, as I was saying, one of the things that I struggle... Well, exactly. And you know, same with tea towels and the like, is that, you know, it's not like it's going to go off. And, you know, whether you leave home next week or in 3 years' time, it'll still be good. And I find it really weird when today children, like, at the age of 17, their parents buy them a car. And we're not talking the, you know, barely legal banger that most of my era would have bought as their first car. We're talking a really nice, you know, £8,000-9,000 plus car. And you're sitting there going, my parents would never have bought me a car. That's why I bought my own. But my parents would never have bought me a car. They just wouldn't. You know, even if I've been the perfect little child and you know, got top everything in everything, my parents wouldn't have bought me a car. And as I said, they'd never have bought me an iPhone. Heck, they wouldn't have bought me a Nokia 3310 today, let alone an iPhone. Or a laptop. They might have marginally contributed to a computer, and that would have been about the best they'd offer. Yeah, I mean, me and my dad, even as an adult, me and my dad did not trade Christmas and birthday presents. See, you know, and I'm sure before 2020, you kind of sitting there going, I'm going to die and be buried with 50 fucking billion piles of toilet paper. And then 2020 hit, you used half of them and you were like, damn, she was right. But, you know, I think too many people give kids today what they want, not what they need. And it sometimes makes me sad to see how ungrateful so many of these children are. Now, my co-worker, who I love with all my soul, every Christmas, every birthday, every special event, they get famous people to do videos, letters, cards. Well, how do you top that? How are these kids going to be when they maybe leave home and the only present they can give each other is a tin of beans, right? Because they're at university and all the rest of it. Maybe all they can afford is a tin of beans, right? Here, I'll do your beans on toast as a celebratory dinner. I'm just picturing your entire loft crammed full of toilet paper. Well, it's good insulation. I mean, but I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but at the same time, it's the kind of crap my parents did. It really is. It is the same kind of crap my parents did. Although they didn't buy me toilet paper. They did do things like they bought me a couple of trays to have my dinner on, because in our house it was very common that you ate on a tray, not at the table. Something I don't do here. I just eat on the table. I eat. I wouldn't say I eat on my lap. I prop it on my computer table and then take it away again. So I don't even use a tray now. They did trays. They did buy me some knives and forks, but they'd like buy me 4 forks for my birthday, and then like 4 knives for Christmas. So they built up a set over a couple of years. They gave me some of their old crockery when I moved out, and I still use it. Some of it's still at the old house, but I still use some of it. I bought some of it here. I've got some of their old pots and pans because my mother managed to buy a new set for herself, so I got the old ones. I got some of the old ones at least. That was the kind of thing my parents did, was give me practical things. And it didn't matter whether they were theirs before or not. They gave me practical things that were well made because they were still good. And so I had some really good saucepans. And I have to say, cartoon style, I could smack you real hard with one of those saucepans and it wouldn't even feel the dent. Ew. It does sound like it. How many more years do you reckon you've got supplies for? Just on an approximate basis, given the last 6 years. Because one thing I will say is you're going to be so out of touch with the cost of toilet paper by the time you do. It's going to be like 20 quid a roll or something, and you'll be sitting there going, how much? But as you say, it's not, unless it gets wet, it's not going to go off. It's 6 years and it's still going. That's a good... Oh, holy shit. You got enough toilet paper that... I used an example today. I was talking to the guy who swore that his DNS wasn't working. And I said to him, the government seemed to feel that when I started work, all women retired at 60, right? And I will be 53 this year. So, in theory, I have 7 years to go. But I don't, because they upped it to 67. Which suddenly means I've now got 14 years to go. And they keep mumbling about 69, which will make it 16 years to go. And as I said to him, even though biologically, because I've done the menopause thing, if I could drop a kid today... You're telling me I could be a grandmother by the time I retire? That is not a pleasant thought. It is distinctly unpleasant thought. And Because, you know, I want to retire today, let alone friggin' 16 years time. But think about it. You know, give or take a bit, you know, small miracles and all the rest of it. I almost could have a child who was driving by the time I retired. And it just seems so wrong because obviously, you know, when I started work, I only would have had 7 years to go. And, you know, I'm already struggling with the idea of doing 7 years, let alone doubling it. And it is. It's kind of the same for your toilet paper, really. You're sitting there going, by the time you finish that, your toilet paper's going to be old enough to have children. Your toilet paper's almost borderline being vintage. It can be called classic by the time you get there. It can be, was it 25 years for an antique or something? I mean, you know, it's... If you're frugal with it, you could actually have antique toilet paper. That is a heck of a lot of toilet paper, my friend. But, as I said... And to be fair, Tenchi, so have a lot of people. Trevor's always said that, you know, the only time he will get to stop working is when he dies. And I think the only reason I'm mad at it is because throughout my life, my dad always nagged me to do certain things, to have savings, to do all of this, so that I would be able to retire. Well, he retired at 50. And there is a little bit of me that's mad because I did all of the things that he told me to do, and I could not afford to retire today. It might be closer than I think, but I could not afford to retire today. And I think that bugs me because, like all children, there is an element of, if your parents did it, you kind of think of it as normal. So my dad retired at 50. I wanted to retire at 50. As he worked out, at 50, he was £5 a month worse off. Well, if all you did was take £5 off my salary every month... Oh, I can imagine, because I remember talking to... we had a hosting company, and the girl who was doing kind of my counterpart... I remember her saying, because she had quite a large family, that... I mean... I'll tell you something, being single in 2020 was a bargain because you'd buy a 36 pack of toilet roll, you were set for months, right? Whereas, of course, if you've got... Apparently boys go through a lot more toilet paper than women. I'm not quite sure how you do that because surely you shake, we have to wipe. But let's not contemplate. I do not need the answer for that necessarily. But she had a couple of boys, she had a girl, she had a husband and herself. Exactly, there are things we don't need to know, right? But she was getting through toilet roll like it was... And I think some of it is just how you think as well. You get there's been a few kind of laughable jokes on TV about, we only use 3 sheets here. And it's like, I will use however many sheets I require to get the desired outcome. Thank you very much, especially when I'm paying for it. But, you know, I will say ever since I had bowel surgery, I get through a bit more than I used to. But not a lot more. It's not, you know, we're not talking rolls a week here, you know. So... Well, and that's the other thing. They aren't very common in the UK, and a lot of people laugh at you if you've got one. It's just the way it works. But that is a perfect answer to a whole lot of it, to be honest. And, you know, so, but, as Jamie says, right, you know, they've got, you know, enough freaking toilet rolls to last pretty much a lifetime. And there are times when you sit there going, I'm going to be, you know, maybe... Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I could probably get one put in here because there is probably just about enough room to do it. I have more toilets in this house than you ever would believe. So, I live alone with 2 dogs in my house. Hello, house. There is a downstairs toilet, so that the visitors do not need to go trudging upstairs. Great. Toilet number 1. At the top of the stairs is toilet number 2 in the family bathroom. Hurrah. In my bedroom, I have an ensuite with a toilet. Toilet number 3. In the next bedroom along, there's an ensuite with a toilet in it. It's like, I've got 1 bottom and 4 toilets. Really? Yeah. I've also got 2 showers and a bath. And obviously 4 bathrooms, so well, 3 bathrooms and a downstairs toilet. But yeah, effectively 4 bathrooms in my 1-person house. Oh, and in case that wasn't enough, there are 3 toilets in my old house. So I've got 7 toilets at my command. Yeah. 1 toilet, the downstairs toilet in my old house, due to its location and impractical nature, because while it was under the stairs, which is where my current downstairs toilet is, my downstairs toilet here is in a room. The downstairs toilet in my old house literally was under the stairs, to the point that if you walked in more than like half a pace, you smacked your head on the ceiling. And so to sit on the toilet, you had to have turned round and be in a sitting position. So often you stood up from the toilet a bit fast, you banged your head on the roof. And so we sealed it off and, closed all the water off and covered the top with cling film a bit so to make sure there's no bat wash and anything. And turned it into the cupboard, because that was the one thing we didn't have in that house, was anywhere to fucking put anything. So it became the cupboard, and you trudged up the stairs to go to the loo because it was right at the top of the stairs. And as you walked up, there was never going to be, where is it? You see, when my gran died, I had major aspirations of, well, before she died, I had major aspirations of wanting to inherit her house. Now, as the oldest grandchild, there was a good chance of that. Turned out what she actually chose to do was split it between her 3 children, and not the grandchildren as she kind of implied she had at one point, but never mind. I'm not greedy, that's fine. But I sorely wanted to live in her house because I'd lived in it as a child, much as I wanted to live in my dad's house, but because we weren't working from home then, couldn't pull it off. Whereas if he'd waited a couple of years, we would have been working from home and I'd now be living in London, with fucking decent fast internet and a lot more variety of food and access to things, because the high street would be 100 yards away. So that would have been good. But my gran's house had a stream that ran through the front garden and down the side of the field, because she had a field. Because she was a market garden. She'd sold the rest of the land, but she kept the field, or a field as her kind of outlook. And that would have been great, because I could have filled it with dogs and bunnies and things. One of my favourite games was to play Farty Pants with the cows. If you have never tried it, make really good fart noises. Don't just go, that doesn't count. You've got to make really good fart noises, because cows love it. Cows love farty noises. So getting up in the morning, making farty noises with the cows, was always a fun game. Going mushroom picking, because, well, there were mushrooms in the field, so you go pick them and eat them for breakfast. So you go for a dog walk, come back with a carrier bag of mushrooms, I'd have loved to live there. Miles from friggin' nowhere. With the cesspit and the well. Yay! Not so much the cesspit, but, but living away from everybody, in the middle of friggin' nowhere. Listening to the stream trickle in the garden. I'd have given a body part for that. part of the reason I like this house is because while you hear the motorway, it sounds more like running water. So you can pretend that it's not a motorway. Occasionally you hear the trains on the track, which is a bit annoying, but it's not very often. You often hear the dogs at the dog shelter. Well, it's a kennel, but the dog place round the corner. It's quite away from here, but if the wind's right, you can hear a lot of that, and it sounds a bit like the hounds, to be honest. But they all obviously get a bit excited around feeding time, and it gets a bit noisy, and you can usually hear that. The only thing I wouldn't miss from here, though, is the low-flying helicopters. I've got a thing about helicopters, as you'll probably find out in a couple of weeks, when it's the races and there's everyone and their dog flying over my house. That does get to me on a level I cannot explain to another human being. Because I know that helicopters are one of the safest forms of aircraft. But for some reason, helicopters flying over me really bother me. I mean, at an atomic level, they bother me. It has quite an effect on my soul, and I can't do much about it. And it's getting worse because, well, ever since we moved up here, well, there's more and more of them. Originally, it'd be like 1 or 2. Then it was like 10 or 20. Then it was like 100. And then it was for the whole days. It used to be just for the Friday. Then it was like the Thursday and the Friday. Then it was the Wednesday, the Thursday, Friday. Now it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And occasionally on Saturday. Plus we get the Air Force shit going overhead. So it can get a bit much around here. I mean, one flew over here the other day. And I kid you not, I swear if he had leaned out the side of his aircraft, he could have picked off a roof tile. He literally was skimming the top of my roof. And they're not really supposed to fly that low over population, but he was, so mind you, there was another one, there was a good year or so ago now, maybe a bit longer, and it was a fast moving something or other at the speed of light kind of deal, and he was real low. He was like 300 feet, and I followed him because there's a plane finder thing, you can follow planes, and he literally kind of went over me, headed into Wales, or towards Wales, and I'm pretty sure they're in Wales. There's a group called Wonky Weavers, and they literally flew right down the high street, and about 2 minutes later I pinged one of them and went, "Hey, you just had that really loud aircraft go over you," and he went, "Yeah," and I went, "That's all right, it was only he was here 3 minutes ago." He could have dropped you off something. It's like, if you're going to do that, at least allow us to send up balloons for you to take with you. Yeah, they were a bit low, and like everything, yeah, I worry for the wildlife. Anyway, I'm rabbiting on. The world is my hunger is getting bigger. Let me cover up my work so that it is safe for me to put my laptop on for tomorrow. Because, well, that's what happens. There we go. It's not as clean as I thought it was. This is what happens when you use it to put other things on. Thank you for joining me today. I will do my best to be back tomorrow. I realise I have not apologised for not being here yesterday. I did the traditional, did the work thing, did the dog thing, did some stuff. What do you mean it's 10 o'clock? I ain't starting now. So that was kind of yesterday. But as I said, I had a slightly better day today, having not really done hard work today. So felt a bit more positive, which, hopefully has been slightly reflective in my voice and stuff today. I am feeling marginally better about life today because, well, I didn't do a hard day's work, but I still get paid for it. Result. So I shall see you tomorrow. And as I said, thank you all for coming, and thank you all for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Bye-bye.